Oh, good, good.
I think part of it.
Yep.
All right,
This,
guys.
we are starting the Zoom. If you do not want to have your picture shown on our live YouTube video, please turn your face off, your video off. There you go.
All right. That's right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Sorting Soup Sunday Seconds from the Sorting Soup Book Club. And I'm sorry that I don't have this on uh, presentation mode. Hi. But that's okay. As long as everybody can see it, it'll be fine. We don't really use it all that much anyway. Um, I do want to say, Beth, do you have the PDF by chance?
No.
Oh, okay. Darn it. Okay. Well,
I'll look for it, Cecilia. I think I have it somewhere.
thank you. I'm sorry, guys. All right. So here we go. Well, here we go. Your host and support team. Good morning, everybody. It's Sunday. It's early. We're rolling. And my name's Cecilia. I am one of the facilitators. Beth it will also be one of the facilitators. Rebecca will not be here this morning, but we do have Dr. Chris, and I believe I don't know if we have any of the others, but they may show up. You never know. It's early. But we have a great team. That is the point. So sorting soup, as we know all of this. I'm not going to roll through it. I do want to say that on Sundays, we have last Sunday with such a small group, we didn't really do the raise your digital hand. We just talked. So th this morning we will, of course, in order to keep it civil and constructive. But I doubt we'll have time limits because we have such a short amount, a small number of people. So uh, this morning we'll be rereading chapter 3. And we didn't read the entire chapter last week, but I think we should read it on Sunday. I think we have the time, and I think it's worth it. And then we can talk about that. And if we have time, we can read Chapter 5, Perfect the Art of Vanishing from Lessons from Cats for Surviving Fascism. Um, I think that it will all, uh-oh, yep, I think I'm just going to leave it right there for now. Um, Dr. Chris, did you happen to grab?
I'm still looking. I know I printed it, so it's somewhere on my computer, but I'm still looking. As soon as I find it, I'll drop it in.
Okay, that's fine. What we'll do is we'll have people read who have the book in front of them, and we'll go from there and see where we
Is
go.
it Cecilia, is it chapter 3?
Yeah, chapter 3.
Okay, I found it. Hold on.
Awesome.
Just one, yeah, just 1 second. Ah, come on, computer. Okay, copy. Zoom chat. Let's see, where's the chat? Okay.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. It's so good to see y'all. Lillian, Danette, Joe, Martha, good morning. Joan. Sorry, I didn't do that earlier. Don't know why. Good morning, everybody. Nora. It's good to see you. All right, so Dr. Chris has dropped that in the chat, the chapter 3, if you need that. Oh, all right. I'm now the host. Good job. In fact, what I'll do is I will go ahead and share as well. I'll just do. Okay. Can everybody see chapter 3?
Mhm.
All right. Does anybody want to read? I can read the first part. And then I'll read up until the war on reproductive autonomy. Good times. Here's my coffee. Here we go, y'all. Take a deep breath. Chapter 3, Rights at Risk, Women, LGBTQ plus, and Minorities, Redefining Civil Rights. Civil rights in the United States have never been static. They have evolved over time through painful struggle, legislative progress, and judicial interpretation. From the Civil Rights Act of 1964 to the expansion of protections for LGBTQ plus Americans and people with disabilities, civil rights law has long served as a mechanism to extend equality to those previously excluded. Project 2025, however, proposes to reverse this trajectory. It does not seek to refine civil rights, it seeks to redefine them entirely, narrowing their scope, altering their meaning, and redirecting their beneficiaries. At the core of this redefinition is a philosophical and legal shift, the claim that civil rights protections have gone too far, that they now infringe upon the religious freedom, parental authority, or political expression of others, rather than understanding civil rights as protections from discrimination. Project 2025 recasts them as potential threats to conservative social norms. This inversion transforms long established rights into objects of suspicion. Project 2025 promotes a reimagined civil rights framework that prioritizes ideological and religious liberty over historically marginalized groups. This is most clearly seen in its calls to revise the enforcement priorities of the Department of Justice's Civil Rights Division, which the project accuses of being weaponized to advance left-wing political agendas. The proposal is to redirect the division's focus away from systemic discrimination, voting rights enforcement, and protections for LGBTQ plus individuals, and toward traditional values, quote unquote, traditional values cases, which often means religious plaintiffs seeking exemptions from anti-discrimination laws. This ideological realignment of civil rights law is not theoretical. The playbook is already visible in recent litigation trends and court decisions. In cases like Masterpiece Cake Shop versus Colorado Civil Rights Commission and 303 Creative LLC versus Elenis, conservative legal groups have succeeded in reframing civil rights disputes as conflicts over free expression and religious conscience, rather than issues of equal treatment. Project 2025 intends to codify and expand this approach across all levels of government. Key areas targeted for redefinition include gender identity and sexual orientation. Number 1, gender identity and sexual orientation. Project 2025 proposes withdrawing or rolling back federal protections for LGBTQ plus individuals, particularly in education, employment, and healthcare. This includes efforts to rescind the interpretation of Title IX that includes gender identity as a protected category, to oppose the inclusion of gender-affirming care under healthcare mandates, and to allow faith-based organizations to receive federal funding while discriminating on the basis of sexual orientation or gender identity. This legal rollback would disproportionately impact transgender Americans whose access to public services, identity documents, and workplace protections would be curtailed. The project reframes this not as exclusion, but as quote unquote protecting women's spaces or quote unquote restoring parental control, language crafted to appeal to mainstream anxieties while enabling systemic discrimination. Number 2, race and affirmative action. In the wake of the Supreme Court's 2023 decision striking down race-conscious college admissions, Project 2025 calls for the complete dismantling of affirmative action across federal institutions. This includes hiring, contracting, and grant-making processes. The argument is that any consideration of race, even to redress historical inequality, constitutes quote-unquote reverse discrimination. This shift ignores the enduring realities of racial inequality in America and recasts civil rights as a zero-sum game, where protections for one group are assumed to come at the expense of another. The long-standing goal of achieving substantive equality is replaced with a superficial form of equality that ignores context, history, and outcomes. Number 3, religious exemptions as a default right. A cornerstone of Project 2025's civil rights redefinition is the elevation of religious exemptions from law as a default constitutional right. This includes support for legislative and executive actions that would allow individuals and organizations to refuse services, benefits, or employment based on religious or moral objections. These policies often disproportionately affect women, LGBTQ+ people, and religious minorities. What was once considered an exception, a narrowly tailored carve-out for deeply held beliefs, is now presented as the rule. Civil rights are restructured not around inclusivity, but around permission to exclude. Number 4, voting rights and democratic access. Although not traditionally grouped with civil rights in the cultural sense, voting rights enforcement has historically been a central function of the Civil Rights Division. Project 2025 seeks to deprioritize investigations into voter suppression, purging efforts, gerrymandering, and discriminatory election laws. Instead, it promotes policies that would tighten voting access under the guise of quote-unquote election integrity, including voter ID laws, limits on mail-in voting, and purges of voter rolls. This disproportionately affects communities of color, low-income individuals, and people with disabilities, all groups protected under existing civil rights legislation. By shifting focus away from access and toward control, Project 2025 aligns civil rights enforcement with partisan electoral strategy. The broader implication, redefining who civil rights are for. What unites these proposals is a deliberate reframing of civil rights as privileges granted to groups deemed culturally aligned with the dominant political narrative. The universal pluralistic vision of civil rights that has guided American policy for half a century is reinterpreted through the lens of selective entitlement. In this model, civil rights no longer serve to protect the vulnerable. They become shields for the powerful to resist cultural and legal change. This inversion is not subtle. It is a calculated effort to undermine the legitimacy of civil rights discourse itself. By flooding public debate with competing claims of victimhood, from anti-mask mandates to parental rights in education, Project 2025 cultivates confusion, cynicism, and disengagement. The more fragmented the conversation, the harder it becomes to build coalitions for actual civil rights enforcement. The language of rights, once a shared civic vocabulary, becomes contested territory. This is a hallmark of authoritarian systems. not the absence of law, but the repurposing of law to serve exclusionary ends. Ultimately, redefining civil rights is not about legal theory. It is about power. It is about who is seen, who is protected, who is allowed to thrive. Project 2025 aims to redraw those lines, not at the margins, but at the core itself. It seeks a future in which the apparatus designed to ensure equality becomes a tool of enforced conformity. And if successful, the greatest victories of the American civil rights movement will not be undone overnight, but quietly, case by case, until their absence feels normal. Okay.
I'll read. Oh, unless Bruce wants to.
Oh, I was
No,
gonna say,
I have a
I
question.
Yes, sir.
I don't remember, did we go through this earlier this
No,
week? This
we did not.
part? I didn't think so.
Yeah,
I'm thinking this is all new.
Yeah.
we
We
started with the
started with
broader
reproductive.
implication. No, we started with the broader implication because the first part, yeah, kind of just kind of lays out what's ahead.
Yes, which
Okay.
I totally get. I just wanted to make sure we got the
No, that's
Yeah, I think it's
important.
good.
That's very important stuff because they're reversing all the civil rights laws that we've had and how they're looking at it. And they want conformity and to stress religious exemptions. Well, guess what? They put this stuff in. We can claim religious exemptions from what they're putting in.
I was thinking that very same thing as I read it. It was talking about whichever is in the dominant control. Well, if we claim dominant control, that means we could say atheists are the predominant religion, or Satanism if we want to. I mean, if we wanted to. I'm just saying, like you know what I'm saying? Like we could claim whatever we wanted to if we were in control again. They are assuming that they're going to be in control indefinitely.
And then we can claim religious exemptions from following it.
Oh, anyway, all right. So, Beth, my dear, if you
We'll
would like to
attempt to
start.
read. If I
Yes.
go to a coughing spell, you might have to assign somebody else.
Oh,
Beth, if you want, I can do it. I know you're still recovering.
you're still sick. You don't need to read.
Let me go ahead and do it, and then maybe you can do another section if we need another reader. So,
I
okay.
could also
Oh,
read if it's made larger. I'm
okay.
having, it needs to be enlarged.
I
And
can read.
Patty is also saying, okay, I
I
can make
can
it.
read also. It's Robin. I can
I-
read it
I
also.
failed oral reading in third grade, but I'll do my best.
Okay.
Okay,
Go.
so Patty's gonna do it.
Okay. I would say go ahead and just until erasure of gender and identity.
Okay, the war on reproductive autonomy. Few issues more clearly illuminate the ideological core of Project 2025 than its approach to reproductive rights. In this context, oh, I'm gay, y'all. I didn't have that right. I didn't take that right. In this context, the project's intent is unambiguous to end the era of reproductive autonomy in the United States. What began with the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe versus Wade in Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization is treated by Project 2025 not as the end of the political fight, but as the beginning of a larger national transformation. The goal is to reconstruct federal policy around the worldview in which access to abortion, contraception, fertility, treatments, and reproductive education is not only restricted, but actively dismantled. Through legislation, executive action, and administrative pressure, Project 2025 outlines a future in which reproductive choices are no longer private medical decisions, but matters of public morality defined, regulated, and published and punished by the state. The strategy is multidimensional. Oh, I got the last book, I think. Federal restrictions on abortion access. Despite arguments that abortion should be states' rights issue, Project 2025 proposes using federal power to restrict it nationally. This includes measures such as the reinstating and expanding of Mexico City policy, also known as the Global Gag Rule, defunding Planned Parenthood, criminalizing and the mailing of abortion medication under the Comstock Act, and passing national abortion bans under the pretext of protecting life and ensuring consistency across state lines. Even more significantly, the project encourages the Department of Justice to redefine the legal framework around reproductive health care, treating abortion providers and support networks as political violators of federal law. Legal scholars aligned with Project 2025 argue for novel applications of existing statutes to produce physicians, nonprofits, and even individuals who assist in abortion access. Attacking medical, abortion, and telehealth. The rise of medication abortion, now the most common method of abortion in the United States, has become a primary target. Project 2025 calls for revoking FDA approval of mifepristone, limiting telehealth prescribing rights, and prosecuting providers who ship abortion pills across state lines. The goal is to close what it sees as loopholes left open by the state level bans and to use federal agencies as enforcement arms of an anti-abortion agenda. Telehealth, once championed for expanding rural and underserved communities, access to health care is reframed in the project as a threat to state sovereignty and public morals. Restrictions on digital communication, surveillance of mail order pharmaceuticals, and data collection from health platforms are all considered legitimate tactics to reduce accessibility. Constraining contraception access. Though politically more controversial, Project 2025 does not stop at abortion. Its materials and affiliated authors suggest a broader reframing of reproductive ethics that includes questioning the legal foundations of contraceptive access. This includes efforts to allow employers to opt out of contraceptive coverage in health plans, expand conscience exemptions for pharmacists, and challenge the federal mandate requiring insurance coverage of birth control. While a national ban on contraception remains politically unlikely, the gradual erosion of access through regulatory reinterpretation and selective enforcement is the hallmark of the project's approach. The emphasis is on removing guarantees, leaving access to the discretion of employers, local authorities, or market conditions. 4, undermining fertility and assisted reproductive technologies, ART. In a lesser discussed but deeply consequential area, Project 2025 materials express skepticism toward assistive reproductive technologies, particularly in cases where embryos are destroyed or not implanted. This includes practices like in vitro fertilization, IVF, which has already come under legal scrutiny in some states post-Dobbs. The redefinition of personhood as beginning at contraception creates a direct legal conflict with standard IVF procedures. by elevating embryo rights to a level equal to or greater than the individuals seeking treatment. Project 2025 aligns itself with legal philosophy that may jeopardize the future of ART altogether. Clinics, patients, and providers could face prosecution or civil liability under laws reinterpreted through the radicalized concept of fetal personhood. They did that inside. They tried to do that in South Carolina. We stopped them. 5, defining the reorienting federal health agencies. The Department of Health and Human Services, HHS, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, and Food and Drug Administration, FDA, are all identified as targets for ideological realignment. Project 2025 advocates for replacing agency leadership with politically loyal individuals, rewriting mission statements and redirecting research and funding away from reproductive health. This bureaucratic purge would remove federal support for public health campaigns around contraception, STI prevention, maternal health, and sexual education. In their place, the funding could be redirected toward pro-life counseling centers, abstinence-only education, and organizations with religious affiliations. The broader ideological goal, reproductive control as social order. Underlying all of this is a deeper aim to restore a patriarchal order in which reproductive roles are legally and culturally rigid. Project 2025 does not present its policies as healthcare reform. It presents them as moral correction, a return to natural or family-centered values. In this vision, reproductive autonomy is not right. It is a threat to social stability. Women and those assigned females at birth are reframed as custodians of a national morality project. Their choices, particularly in areas of sex, motherhood, and bodily autonomy, are subjected to a political calculus that prioritizes control over freedom. This is not incidental. It is central to Project 2025's vision of reordered society. Legal tools, cultural strategy, and lasting impact. Project 2025 does not rely solely on legislation. It weaponizes regulatory reinterpretation, executive orders, and strategic litigation to create legal precedents that can stand even after political control changes hands. But building a new legal and cultural framework that treats reproductive autonomy as deviant or dangerous, the project seeks to make future policy reversals politically risky and legally difficult. This strategy is incremental but irreversible. Once clinics close, providers leave the profession, and laws are passed defining embryos as legal persons. The infrastructure for autonomy disappears. And as this infrastructure vanishes, so too does the reality of choice. This is not just a war on abortion. It is a war on the entire idea that individuals should control their reproductive destinies. Project 2025 envisions a society in which such control is not a right, but a privilege, granted or denied according to the values of those in power. And that vision, if implemented, would mark a historic regression, not just for women's rights, but for the broader project of democratic freedom.
Thank you so much. That was well done. Okay, that is where we got to on Thursday. So we are going to finish this chapter, I hope, this next Thursday, and do chapter 4 because we're getting way behind. So if y'all want to read the rest of the chapter, we can right now. Yeah. Okay. All right. Who's next then?
I can do it, Cecilia.
Thank you, Dr. Chris. I appreciate you.
Okay, erasure of gender and identity. In the political vision advanced by Project 2025, identity is not viewed as a complex and evolving aspect of human life, but as a fixed and state-sanctioned category. This project treats the growing social recognition of gender diversity, non-binary identities, and fluid expressions of sexuality as a threat, not only to tradition, but to the national order itself. In response, it promotes a systemic rollback of policies, protections, and public norms that affirm the existence and dignity of LGBTQ+ individuals. This effort constitutes nothing less than a coordinated erasure of identity. This erasure is both ideological and administrative. On one level, it's framed in the language of values, defending the natural family, protecting children from confusing ideologies, and preserving traditional gender roles. On another, it's executed through granular changes in law, funding, education, policy, healthcare regulations, and public discourse. The intent is not simply to disapprove of nonconforming identities, it is to render them indivisible and legally irrelevant. Number 1, defining gender by law. Project 2025 begins its erasure at the most fundamental level, legal definition. Its authors argue for federal laws and regulations that define gender strictly as binary, immutable, and biologically determined at birth. This includes rolling back Obama-era policies that recognize gender identity in federal data collection, education regulations, housing protections, and healthcare mandates. By redefining gender as a biological category tied exclusively to sex assigned at birth, the project enables a cascade of exclusions. Transgender and non-binary individuals lose access to accurate identity documents, inclusive healthcare, gender-appropriate facilities, and protections from discrimination. The legal system in this framework ceases to recognize their existence. Number 2, targeting transgender youth. One of the most politically charged and strategically central areas of Project 2025 is its focus on transgender minors. Under the guise of protecting children, the project supports banning gender-affirming medical care for youth, including puberty blockers, hormone therapy, and social transition practices, even when it's recommended by doctors and supported by parents. These bans are not isolated proposals. They are accompanied by efforts to criminalize providers, investigate parents for child abuse, and revoke the license of medical professionals who offer affirming care. The result is a climate of fear and forced medical conformity that denies trans youth the right to exist authentically. Beyond healthcare, Project 2025 supports banning trans students from participating in school sports consistent with their gender identity, using correct pronouns in classrooms, or accessing bathrooms or locker rooms that align with their identities. This is enforced not only by law, but through federal funding mechanisms, threatening schools and districts with the loss of resources unless they comply. Number 3, eliminating federal protections. The project also calls for dismantling of federal regulations that prohibit anti-LGBTQ+ and discrimination. This includes repealing the interpretations of Title VII and Title IX that extend workplace and education protections to LGBTQ+ individuals, gutting the application of Fair Housing Act for the LGBTQ plus renters and homeowners, and stripping sexual orientation and gender identity from federal diversity initiatives. By removing identity-based protections from these core civil rights frameworks, Project 2025 relegates LGBTQ plus Americans to second-class legal status. They may still technically be citizens, but they are no longer equally protected under the law. Number 4, defending and silencing advocacy. Beyond law and policy, Project 2025 aims to financially and culturally isolate LGBTQ plus advocacy organization. It proposes eliminating federal grants to organizations that promote sexual orientation and gender ideology, ending DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion programs in federal agencies, and banning LGBTQ plus materials from public libraries and schools. The project views these entities not as civil society actors, but as ideological threats. The end goal is to remove them from public life, cutting off not only their funding, but their platforms and their legitimacy. You want me to continue? Knock it out?
No.
Oh.
I can finish if you like.
Okay.
Okay. Reasserting traditional norms. Project 2025 presents its erasure of identity as a moral imperative. In its language, gender nonconformity is a form of cultural decay. Same-sex relationships are framed as deviating from the natural order, and trans visibility is portrayed as indoctrination. These rhetorical strategies are not new. They echo historical patterns of marginalization used by authoritarian regimes to justify the repression of minority groups. The framework being built is one in which the state decides who you are, and more importantly, who you're allowed to be. Individual self-determination, long recognized as a core democratic value, is subordinated to a narrow, state-approved definition of identity. That definition is binary, heterosexual, and compliant. Number 6, cultural conditioning through policy. The most insidious aspect of this erasure is not its violence, but its normalization. Through consistent messaging, policy alignment, and cultural pressure, Project 2025 seeks to create a society in which gender diversity is not only unrecognized, but unthinkable. In this society, LGBTQ plus identities become taboo topics, relegated to the margins, treated as moral failings or mental illness. This conditioning extends to children, teachers, healthcare providers, and even law enforcement. The goal is not to win a debate. It is to eliminate the conversation entirely, to make queerness disappear, not through censorship alone, but through cultural redesign. Conclusion: a future of forced conformity. Erasure is not always loud. It can happen through silence, paperwork, defunding, and fear. Project 2025 constructs a world in which LGBTQ plus people are written out of the law, pushed out of public life, and erased from memory. It is not enough that they be denied new rights, but they must also lose the ones they already fought for and won. This is not the absence of policy. It is the presence of an anti-policy, a counter-revolution aimed at dismantling recognition itself. And if allowed to proceed, it would establish a precedent with devastating consequences. That identity is not personal, not sacred, not free, but conditional, granted by the state, and revocable. Whew, that really made me angry.
I found the whole thing disturbing.
Yeah.
All of it.
Yeah.
Well, it's as a gay person who was in the closet all my life. Never a part of a group, but just isolated in my identity. I made it. I was successful. You know, I got all the pluses, the privileges of being a white female.
Right.
Why? Because I was quiet. And I have found after my partner passed, and I'm 81 now, and in my late 70s, I finally decided, well, I'm just going to be out. I mean, especially since, I mean, everybody knew it anyway, you know, but you don't say it.
Beautiful.
I would have lost my job had I ever been out.
Right.
I was a teacher. I was an educator. So it's really disturbing to me that, I mean, I don't quite understand the out community. I mean, how it's just so out there, you know. So I'm still kind of trying to understand and to understand my community. But when I did finally come out, I found that my sister is one of those Christian nationalist people who had always accepted me as long as it was yeah. I mean, I think she still loves me and all that other stuff, but she fits right in here. She's a Republican. She's a MAGA supporter, and it's so sad. I mean, I guess maybe that's all I got to say, y'all.
Well, thank you, Miss Patty. I appreciate that very much.
Yes, and we love you.
We love you, and you are so welcome and loved here. Bruce, you have your hand up. What's up?
Yes. Okay. I found the whole chapter very disturbing. I am not part of the LGBTQ community. However, I support it and have supported it. In fact, yesterday's local Palm Beach Indivisible group meeting was at the LGBTQ Center in Palm Beach, which I don't think I've been to before, but I had communications with them, and especially their human rights attorney, who happened to have been a Bernie Sanders delegate at one of the two conventions, maybe both. But I had communications with him several times because working for a school district, we put anti-discrimination provisions in our policies, and for gender identity and so forth. And unfortunately, now I'm not there anymore, but unfortunately with Trump and the directives that came down from the Florida Department of Education, that they would cut off funding if you did not do away with all your DEI policies, the district did. And it created quite a stir in the community. There were protests. There were a lot of public comment speakers against it, and people protesting, rallies with signs and so forth. But the district could not afford to lose the funding, so they caved. What can I say? And a lot of those discrimination policies were done away with, including for businesses, because we had, where they got some points for if they had minorities in there. And this is just it's a throwback of civil rights, and look at all the progress that people have made in that regard, for minorities. It's taking away, it's erasing people, as they say. And I get the impression that this book is not just a summary of what's in there in Project 25, but a commentary on it as well, and how they feel about it in the summary. And I agree that it's really un-American and a horror. And this is a situation where you have certain religious beliefs that are being imposed on all of us, and it's beliefs of certain religions, and it does allow for religious exemptions, and frankly, if some of these were put into legislation or so forth, I bet a lot of us would want to be exempt based on religious reasons. But this is a horror, and we do see it because of what Trump has done with the DEI, initiatives that he's had. That if you have it with colleges and other institutions, you're going to be punished basically with either grants not going to you or certain other consequences. So I just think a lot of this needs to be rejected, and we got to keep up the fight. We've got to keep up our resistance. We've got to make sure that in the midterms we get people elected who will call the administration under the rug in terms of investigations and so forth. And then we need to get Democrats or another group as president in 2028. So, but even before that, we've got to continue resisting. And the 1 Million Rising from Indivisible gave lots of ways to do this with, I forget the term they used, the type of non-cooperation,
Yes.
but also Stacey Abrams has come out with something where she talked about ways to resist, the 10 steps to autocracy, and then how to fight it. And, because this is autocracy. They're imposing, they even say it, they're imposing their identity on us as to what they want us to be as conformists.
Conforming to their identity.
And that's not the way people should have choice and freedom to choose.
It's not a choice.
Their own. Pardon me?
It's not a choice. They're
It's
taking
not a
away.
choice.
Yeah, they're taking. Okay. All right.
So
Thank you so
I've
much.
said enough.
Thank you, Bruce. Thank you. Sabrina, go ahead.
Hey, yeah, so I just wanted to mention the next chapter, because I've been looking at some of the next chapter is Christian nationalism. And I hear people say all the time, they love that whole like, what if you're wrong as an atheist versus what if I'm wrong as a Christian, right? I'll go to hell, nothing will happen to them. And I'm like, yeah, that is not true. Living as a Christian, you can get really, really effed up in the head. It took me until my 40s to admit I was bisexual because my Christian brainwashed mind always thought it was a bad thing. And I could never admit it. I mean, I've been attracted to girls when I was young and women as I was older many times, but I just said, nope, no, that's wrong. I can't do that. So there's this whole part of my life I haven't experienced because I couldn't get past the idea that it was wrong, So I just want to argue that no, Christian religion, all of it has an impact on you, and sometimes it's not good.
Well, hey, girl, 50 is the new 30. So, you just go out there and live that best life.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Joe, you're up next.
Well, I always just want to say I always appreciate hearing from Bruce. He always has so much to add, and it's especially appreciated having a male voice here. That's good for me. It's helpful. I'm referring back to section 4. It's by definition.
For what Donald Trump has done here, we have never in American history seen a president.
Whoa, who's that?
Not me.
Oh, okay. That's all right. We're good now. Keep going, Joe. Sorry about that. Section 4.
Yeah, state sovereignty by definition defines that they have supreme power. Section 4 states that basically our eggs belong to the state.
Ah, yes.
They have state sovereignty over our bodies.
Yes. You caught that,
They,
didn't you?
they want to completely erase the autonomy of our organs.
Yes.
And it's may not just be our eggs, it may be other organs that they may want to take. And
They are
it may
looking to
be
live
something,
forever.
yeah, it might be something as necessary as a life-saving hysterectomy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I
And
and we know that they don't quite understand what reproductive health care really is. Like they don't understand what it does. Otherwise, they would allow us to have freedom. I mean, because women are dying. Women are actually not being able to have further children because of things that are happening now. I mean, they don't quite understand what they're doing, or if they do, they just don't care. So,
well, also, as I said before, pregnancy is a health risk. Even a healthy
yes.
pregnancy is a health risk, and they're not taking that into consideration. But if they have complete sovereignty over our body, they can, it gives them the right to uh, sexually abuse children. It gives them it gives them right of incest. It gives them,
One word that I kept seeing over and over and over again in this, y'all, control, 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 control. Like that's their motive, their underlying motive is just to control every single situation. And you're absolutely correct. It would give them exactly what they wanted all along. Thank you.
Cecilia,
yeah, well,
control is
and they're
part of
also rejecting
authoritarianism.
being held accountable for their
Yes.
acts.
Yes. Sorry, what was that, Bruce?
Control is part of being an authoritarian, system
Right.
or dictatorship or whatever you want to call it, fascism even.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right.
Well,
thank
if they can control women, they can also control men eventually. They want to maybe control what they do with their sperm and what their choices are too. So it's dangerous for men as well.
Well, yeah, I did notice that never they never mention Viagra is a problem being mailed through they mail that through why isn't that a problem? I don't but anyway, yeah, there's lots of things. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate you.
But they
Thank
do
you.
mention contraception, which affects men. But I'm a man, and I did notice I am the only one on this call. But to me, protecting women's rights is very important also.
Yeah. And we appreciate you. We need to get more men on this call. You're absolutely correct. Marta, you're up next. Oh, you need to unmute, babe.
Me.
There you
Hi.
go. Hey.
Yeah, wow. I mean, just a lot to unpack here. And I want to start with Sabrina and Patty. Okay, Patty, I see you. I just want to say I feel such sorrow that you have had to miss out on parts of yourself. I just feel, really sad about that and glad that you feel like at least you have a place where you can mention this to people and they will have the capacity of maybe at least imagining a little bit what that must be like. So, I just want to be sure that that's said. And I was kind of highlighting and this and that all the way through, just even under at the very page 31, or that broader implication for redefining who civil rights are for. I think that says it all, right? They're just saying that this whole group of people, we're going to say civil rights aren't for women who want birth control. Civil rights aren't for people who step outside of what is, what would we even want to say? Like sexually typical, like if it's more common one way than another way. We're going to say civil rights aren't for these people. And it's just, I'm trying to look at this again, like where are the arguments we can make that would appeal to people who feel that they're on the sidelines of this one when they're really not. One of the ones was on the telehealth, that, you know, rural communities are going to lose it too. And if we can look at some of these things, like how do we get more people to feel like if they don't have the kind of heart and soul that's just going to be concerned for other human beings, what are the arguments here that get them to be concerned for themselves?
Yeah.
So I think that's just maybe one way to give this another look and see what we've got to work with here. That's it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome so much. That's a great point, Marta. Sorry, Ruby had to make her her weekly debut on camera. Dr. Chris, you're up next.
Yeah, I had to mute myself. I had a had a little technical difficulty earlier. Sorry for disrupting. Yeah, you know, the thing that strikes me as interesting or is you know, you typically think about the Republicans as a anti big government party, right? And yet everything about this screams government, big brother control. Like you would almost think that there would be a portion of this that would appeal, that would be just as concerning to the libertarians. And you know, so that's what's shocking to me. And then obviously the whole thing is about patriarchy, right? And I was watching the news this morning, and they had that DoD defense thing with Rick Scott. I don't know if any of you guys have been following it, but it just was amazing how white male that room was. Like literally, I mean, they did have one panel member that was a woman, but everybody, I don't think there was one black person that I could see on the camera, right? And very few women. So again, it's just a sneak preview. While I was on the call, I actually reached out to I used to coach gymnastics in Germany. It's one of my gymnastics parents, but she's very MAGA and she's in Las Vegas. And we had lots of debate before the election about Project 2025 because I had read most of it, especially the chapters that impacted federal service because I was working for federal service, and education because I was in education. And she basically disavowed, you know, the whole Project 2025, saying no, he said you know, this is not something he supports, he knows nothing about it,
Right.
blah 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 blah. So I just sent her actually a note saying, hey Kim, just checking in, you know, it's been now a year, I'm wondering what you're thinking now about what's going on, because I do kind of wonder, and for those of you who have MAGA family members, are they even paying attention to Project 2025 now? Like, I wonder if it's in their infosphere, or if it's just kind of happening behind the scenes and all they hear is, oh, we're going back to, you know, the 50s, you know, when life was great, you know, for people, you know, and blah 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 blah. So anyway, it's just some observations. I just cannot believe how big government it is. I mean, and I just think that for most Americans would be scary, except for this very small group. And then the other thing that I'm thinking about is there's got to be a conflict with the tech bros over this, or even like Scott Bessent. He's gay. Peter Thiel is gay, right? You know?
But it's for me, not for thee. They're fine. They ignore what's happening on their side. It's everybody else. It's just like authoritarian parents. Practice what I preach, or they never practice what they preach usually. Like they usually tell you what to do, but then they don't follow through with it on their side, at least in my experience. And my Aunt Vicky actually told me to read Project 2020. She's very MAGA, very, very MAGA. And she told me to read Project 2025 long before, like when it first came out. She was like, you better read it. Like it's and she like that's the family that I have temperate, like kind of disowned because they defended the Nazi salute, and I mean, they're just so far in that they can't see past. Yeah, they are following it. At least that my family, who is very
MAGA.
Very, yeah. And invested financially. Like they have a lot of land, and I think they're following it because there's a lot of things that certain people will make money out as a result of things that are that are redoing in our government. And I don't know if my family has anything to do with that, but I can see that they would want to that he worked in oil his entire life. So like trying to stay. Anyway, sorry. Robin. Yes. Oh, hold on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there
Okay.
you go.
Can you see me or I
Yeah,
see
we
you
can,
only?
yeah, we can see you. We can hear you, babe.
All right. Um, MAGA. What does the MAGA stands for? Can you
Make
define
America
it?
great again.
Ah, it was great before. What was wrong with it?
Well, um, pe people opinions vary, but I agree that we were headed in the right direction before, and now we are not. Now
And
they are trying to
do
turn us
they
around.
understand that all the progress that is done in past whatever it's all immigrant. They all
Yes.
in the high tech. They all immigrant. I
Well,
have
and Robin, what they think, they believe that liberalism and immigrant, I mean, liberalism itself is the problem. So they have to take out all of that. And there's quite a
it's
bit of that.
disgusting. Anyway, this is my first time. I do want to learn about. I mean, I heard a lot about 2025. And I wasn't able, I cannot attend any, I attend 9 a.m., but after that I get really busy and I don't attend any of the other meetings. But this is great. You guys putting so much time and energy, and mostly women, except the Bruce. And okay, Bill is, I don't know where Bill is, he probably went to the
Bill
gym.
had to go. He's got,
But
there's a vigil tonight.
so we need there are like people like men like a Bruce who are supportive of women, but most like I said, I come from Eastern culture. I'm raised here in this country. I'm born in India. My parents came, but all the control, I mean, when I grew up, I mean, it was my dad, then my brothers. Then I said, okay, only way I can get freedom can marry. So that my husband was nice. He gave me all the freedom, but indirectly he controlled my mind. Everything was controlled. So finally now I am free. I can do whatever I want to do, but still, I mean, I don't. I don't, I really don't understand like a family value. Yes, it's important because that's where, a stable life, emotional, stable children,
right.
uh,
But
and
their
these
their
kids,
definition is a heterosexual man, a heterosexual female, and they are married. That is their definition of family values, is what we're trying to say. And there is no other iteration of a family that they will accept.
but Cecilia, it's not only here, it's all over the world.
Yeah.
It's all over the world. And like in India, I know as soon as a baby that has neither sex or male and female, first they will try to hide that child for a
Yeah.
long time. But once they find out there's a community called Hijra, eunuchs,
Yeah.
because they will come somehow find out, they will snatch that individual and they take it away. They put in that community because their profession is just to dance, go to and the celebrations, sing and dance. So that's why how they make money. That's the
And
side. Okay. So for me,
they're
it's a little,
trying, they think that by making all of this illegal, that it will make it go away. But we know from past experience, making something illegal just makes it more dangerous. It doesn't make it go away.
yeah, it's beyond my comprehension. And for me, being too, I don't know how to explain it to you because I didn't like in my household, we didn't speak our languages. We never taught them our heritage. So we're just, my kids are just like any American here. They
Right.
don't know anything, but at the same time, they don't really fit in the white society or even in my own society. They don't fit because they don't know the language, they don't know the
Right.
heritage. So it's a really confusing. They lose their identity. They like, I feel that they have lost my kids. They lost their identity because they don't know where to fit. But thank God they have found their path. And two of them, they still haven't procreated the children. That's the ultimate goal for any human being, make babies.
Is it?
I guess that even if I look at myself, even though I didn't know how the babies are made, I was
Robin,
9.
hold on now. I got other hands up, honey.
So-
So I'm just
but
gonna
anyway, I just since you guys are so open right now, talking about even the girl Samantha, what is Sabrina?
Yes,
She says she's a bisexual.
that happens.
Bisexual.
Yeah.
And for me, okay, my hormones I only touched one man in my life, and that's the man I'm living right now. And I don't know how many affairs he had before marriage, but after marriage he didn't. Okay, I don't know how many different girls
Oh,
black,
okay, Robin. Yeah.
brown, white.
Okay.
But
Thank you.
but anyway, Cecilia, this is very interesting topic for me. I have become very like open to discuss. We don't discuss these things.
I understand.
We don't. It's like no, 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 no. You don't
Wow.
talk about any of this stuff. So, but anyway, the topic is very. It's a deep and yes, like it's a control. Like
Yes.
Bruce, you talked about control. You control the money, and these banks on the top, few one. They're controlling the entire. There are like 8 people in the entire world that controlling the entire population of the
I
whole
know,
world.
honey.
Okay, so I'm
Okay.
gonna go. So you take another card.
Just let me, yeah, thank you, hon. I appreciate you, Robin. And we're going to go on to Bruce now, okay?
Sounds good.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too.
Okay. Bruce.
Yeah, two things. One is you mentioned about your relatives.
Yeah.
And you used the word greed. I do not understand people who vote or work for money and greed.
I know.
When there's so many other issues that affect not only you but others, and you ignore it, and it's what's best for you economically is what drives you. I can tell you, I worked in public service, and I didn't get paid what I would have if I had been out in the open, but that was what was satisfying to me. And I don't necessarily vote what would benefit me the most in elections. I look at all the issues and what's important to me. And right now, and the reason I'm involved with all this is because our democracy is at stake. It's still there, but it's not, it's being chipped away. What we were talking about before this meeting started, that's another chip in our society. But the bottom line is that those freedoms that we enjoy, we got to fight for them to keep them.
Right.
And if you want them, you may have to do things that are not in your economic best interest. But that's important. But I did want to ask a question as well. I know that in the campaign, Trump said he knew nothing about Project 2025. We all knew better, but
Right.
a lot of Republicans apparently didn't. But he then, during his administration, with Vogt, he put Vogt, who was one of the architects of Project 2025, as head of his Office of Management and Budget. And at some point, Trump said that he did agree with Project 2025. And I'm wondering if anyone remembers the language he used about that.
I recall him saying that parts of it, like he agreed with parts of it. Like he tried to give himself an out. I think I know what you're talking about. However,
Joan might. Joan just popped up her hand. She might. We'll go through the hands and we'll see if somebody remembers better than I do. And I will look it up nevertheless, because now you have me wondering. Dr. Chris, you're next.
Yeah, I wanted to circle back to something that and when the question came up about what MAGA stands for, Make America Great Again, and I want to offer kind of a slightly different perspective, okay? So, conservatives by nature, but if you think about the title of conservative, they're trying to conserve a past that they're comfortable with that existed sometime, way far, a while ago. So when you say to, and when they make the claim that their whole platform is to make America great again, and then ask this question, well, and I've asked this question, like of my MAGA friends, can you clarify a time when you thought America was great? Okay, because you're trying to get back to making it great again. So kind of what's that window of time when we were great? Was it like in the 40s? Was it like in the 50s? And a lot of times they will say it's kind of that 50s. What was that show? The Andy whatever
Leave It to
show?
Beaver.
No, Opie and whatever, kind of whatever that Andy Griffith show.
Andy
Andy
Griffith.
Griffith, yeah.
Yeah.
But think about that. Let's think about that as women, as if for those of you who are on the call that are part of the LGBTQ community, America wasn't great in the 50s, right? It wasn't great in the 70s, and I think we have to be cautious when we say America was ever great, because the whole premise of America was that we are striving towards a more perfect union.
We
We're
are a work in
always,
progress.
always a work in progress, right? There's always been marginalized groups from women to LGBTQ, and we could go on, right? So I just am going to say that though I don't disagree that we were moving in the right direction in many areas, we weren't there, and we have never been great, okay? But the ideal, this vision for an America that could be, that is something to strive for, right?
For sure.
I mean, but we have to imagine that, and we have to keep working in that direction towards a true democracy where people have equity, not, and freedom to vote and freedom of self-expression and freedom over their bodies. But we were never there. Okay.
We need
Anyway.
to talk about that too. What you just said, like we need to talk about how, like with our friends and families, the vision we have for the future. We have stopped talking about religion and politics because it gets us places we don't want to get with our family. But that's how we got to where we are now, because we stopped talking about it. And if we don't talk about how our vision of the future is so incongruent with what their obvious vision for the future is.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, and like you said, their vision does not take
Their
into
vision is
account.
taking us back to a place where so many people were marginalized.
Exactly.
Right?
They
And
want
so
to.
is that the vision that we want for our country? So yeah.
They are so scared about losing control, white control, that they want to then go in and erase all brown and black people, brown and black voices. And then why not throw in the LGBTQIA community, as, we're afraid of them too, because they're the artists, they're the soul, in my opinion. Like not all, but you know what I'm saying? Like, and just anyway, okay, I'm sorry, Joan, Patty, you're up next. I want to skip you.
Well, two issues. You ask if MAGA was watching, Cecilia, Dr. Chris. I don't think that they are getting the message. I do not think they are watching 2025. Most of us are not. And if you want to talk about a vision for the future, Project 2025 is a great place to start, because you can take that and each piece of it talk about what do we want, what do we see as ideal. But I think it is our job, because their news is not telling them what is happening. what is happening. Project 2025 is happening in the background.
Yeah.
It is not happening out here out front. It's happening in the states. That's where we tried to get rid of abortion. That's where we banned books. It's happening locally, and it's a minority. They've trained people to go in locally and make these changes to incrementally get us used to being what they want us to be.
I agree.
And
I agree with that.
The second issue that came up in the discussion is Trump's involvement in 2025. And I keep debating with myself, what is Trump's? I mean, I think he is nothing more than a puppet.
He's taking advantage of what they're giving him.
He is a narcissistic puppet that they have groomed because of his great appeal and his cult followership. They are using him as long as he is going to be useful to them. They know that his MAGA base is, I mean, my neighbor across the street, my trailer trash neighbor, is going to love Trump until he's dead.
Right.
He's going to be a martyr. And those people will not follow J.D. Vance. I'm not sure. I don't think they're going to go, all of a sudden switch to him. I think Trump is a puppet being used by the cabal. Oh, goodness. I guess maybe I'm a conspiracy theory.
They have made us all conspiracy theorists,
yes,
by living out actual conspiracies.
Yeah. I don't think that Trump really knows or cares what's in 2025. He simply wants to know, when is he going to get his next bribe? How much money is he going to make? How much power is he going to be able to yield? And it's totally narcissistic. Me.
Yeah. I think that they probably, like the Heritage Foundation probably came to him and they were like, this is our plan, and you are so great, and it's going to be so good for you, because they knew how to play him. Just like, and he is taking advantage of what it gives him, but he's not really invested. Like
what he knew is he knew how to play his base.
Yeah.
And then one other issue was, if we get rid of DEI, what was it? It was thinking about racism doesn't die; it just festers. You were talking about, these. We're not going to die. We're going to fester back there. Well, racism didn't die; it just festered.
You're absolutely correct. It never. I mean, even though we said we were making strides, and I think we were at some point making strides. I read an article once that how racism took a strong right turn in 2014. Like, we were making excellent strides with the battle, but then all of a sudden, 2014, something happened, and it was something like Facebook. It was something that had to do with Facebook and how conspiracies and racism just festered in that environment, and we stopped going out and living in our communities and started believing the lies that they were pumping, or not. I say we, I'm not that. Anyway, never mind.
What social media did is it gave us community, just as we need community to strengthen our resolve to go out and be able to speak and espouse our beliefs. We need community. We need somebody, a foundation, a support to build us
people
up,
anonymity. But I hear you.
To make us brave. And what social media did to the fringes of racism, it gave them community and made them feel not alone, and made them feel that they could win. And that's exactly what you all are doing so damn well. I wish to heck we could get 20 jillion other sofas going here. Cause I mean, I've tried to learn how to do Zoom, because I said we're going to get Zoom, but I only know 2 people to get on a Zoom.
Well, It starts with two people, Patty. All right, I'm going to move on to Joan now. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. And I see Dr. Chris has put some things in there about Trump's knowledge about 2025. I never heard him say that he knew something about anything or that he agreed with anything. What I recall is him saying, I know nothing about this. I've never read it. And I thought the I've never read it was true because the man doesn't read. That's probably the only truth he's ever said. So I believe that part, but 144 of his people are the ones who pulled it together. So he had more than sufficient knowledge. He will, as you know, he lies all the time. One of the things that concerned me, and maybe Bruce or anyone else here could enlighten a bit, when chapter 3 was being read, one of the things that was said that really concerned me was that some of these things are irreversible. Because I was thinking that, okay, they're going to put that in, it's going to take time. And last week we talked about how it could take decades to do reversal because everything is based on loyalty and you're getting rid of the people who know what's going on. You have these people who don't know what's going on. You bring in new people and they have to start from ground zero, which is really very frightening to me. So I don't know if anyone can elaborate on that. That would be wonderful. And then one last thing, Bruce, I am completely with you about working and having money is not our driver. But I believe with all my heart that probably 80% of the people out there who are Trumpsters are that way because of the money. I really believe that that's the driver on so many of these folks. And I just, otherwise, is everybody just completely insane?
Money and honestly, there's a lot of racism in our, and it's deep and it's dark, like a lot of people who aren't outwardly racist. Let me tell you, these are the people who have black best friends. Okay, these are the people who, but the inside there's something. We have been raised in a systemically racist society in which we have white privilege, and when that privilege is even somewhat thought to be taken away, something deep inside rebelled.
Save this.
And I don't, this is I've read articles about this. There, many of our white brothers and sisters are standing by, not doing a dang thing because they're afraid of what's happening, but they're standing in fear of their own understanding of what's happening. They see racism happening with the immigration, with ICE and everything like that. And they can't confront what's happening in here and in here. And it's a lot, y'all. We're going through a lot in this country right now. I mean, we got to give grace to people and talk to them. It's about education and talking through this and understanding where people are.
Oh, true. Thank you. Thank you for that insight.
You're welcome, honey. I don't know if that helped, but I hope it did.
No, I see what you're saying. And unfortunately, you're spot on. I had an encounter, it's been 30 years ago. I was managing a chamber of commerce and I was talking to one of our board members about something that I had seen that was very racist. And I said, I couldn't believe it. I said, I thought we got past that. And he said, oh, Joan, you have no idea. People in this community that are patriots and, very leaders in the community who have those feelings. And I was just devastated. And it has continued all these years. And it's very sad. It's very sad. So those of us that are not that way, we're just going to continue to spread the light and see what we can do every day to make things better. So thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. All right, Miss Sabrina, you are up next.
Hey, I just wanted to say a couple of things. First of all, thank you, Marta, so much for the support. It made me cry, honestly, because I don't think I realize sometimes how much I need that support. I just tough it out, so thank you for that. I completely agree about the whole greed issue. I see these things online where it says, what one thing would you remove from the world if you could? And I always, always say greed. Because without that, think how great this freaking world would be. You know, think how great humans would be if they just weren't greedy.
Right.
Yeah. And then if you want to laugh a little, you should watch the Daily Show where they ask people who are MAGA to tell them when was America great. They definitely struggle with that question. And Patty, I 100% agree with you. People don't know what's going on. I didn't even know everything about like 2025, and I'm pretty invested in politics, and I like skimmed it before. I would watch people talking about it, but reading this book,
Yeah.
oof. And then finally, I'm going to put in the chat, there is a thing called an implicit bias test. It's a test of not your outward obvious, like I call people the N-word racism, but something more internal. And it's really just an opportunity to kind of give yourself feedback about maybe how you think about people. I think they have it for like gender. I know they have it for like multiple races, and you can just pick which one you want to do. It's pretty useful. It's a Harvard study, so they are continually collecting data on it. So obviously you have to agree to let your data be collected, but I don't think they ask any relevant information other than are you willing to participate? And then you just do. But anyway, that's all I had to say. I'm going to put that in the chat though, if anybody's interested in it. It doesn't take long to do like one test. And it's like I said, it's pretty insightful. I mean, I kind of knew some of my biases before going in, and yeah, it confirmed it for me.
Okay. Thank you, Sabrina. I appreciate you. All right, Dr. Chris, you're up.
Yeah, hey, so I did put a couple of links showing the very direct connection between Trump and Project 2025. So, I mean, there's just been so many examples from him in a plane with Kevin Roberts, who is the Heritage Foundation president, and then with him speaking at the Heritage Foundation, saying, you know, not mentioning Project 2025, but actually saying your plan, like referring to the plan, because keep in mind this Heritage Foundation plan, which is subtitled Mandate for Leadership, has been around since Reagan. You know, the first iteration was around during Reagan's. So it was written for any conservative that was elected that this would be the game book, right? So they already had their earlier version in Trump's first term. They just had more checks and balances and guardrails in place that restricted them, you know, going full on you know, implementation. That's why you saw this like right out of the gate. They were lined up, ready to go, purging the federal government from their, trying to get their loyalists in position. The other thing I wanted to mention, just because it's kind of come up as we were talking about what our vision for the future is and the need to communicate that vision, we have a session on Wednesday where we're called Vision Forward, where that's exactly what that project did. So we started by, you know, brainstorming as our group what our shared values are, and then we laid out, you know, we literally had a dream session, like what would America look like if we could, you know, have you know, what would our this dream of America look like, you know, some, you know, from equity for all and free and fair elections to people being able to have affordable health care and affordable life. So anyway, but the important part of the project right now, the initial project was to then how do you communicate that as we're talking to people? How do you get them to buy into what this shared vision can be for the future? And that's what we're going to be talking about on Wednesday, is how you message that vision, right? And then we'll have follow-on sessions that give us practice, like skill building sessions that some of our team members are going to do, that they're, you know, like how do you talk to people about this stuff to get them excited, to get them to see this dream of an America that never existed but could be. Okay, so anyway, that's my infomercial for Vision Forward, because it ties so nicely into what we just discussed.
Yeah, it did. All right, thank you. And Miss Patty, you're back up.
Okay, just a quickie that again, addressing what MAGA knows and whether they're following the propaganda that Heritage Foundation or whoever has put together fits together so nicely for them. My relatives who are MAGA are good people.
Good Christian people, right?
They're good. They really are. They're good, Christian, loving, patriotic Americans.
Yep.
And they have been manipulated via their faith to believe that what is happening all fits together very nicely in it's the same way that we have an exact opposite view of Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
They have been so masterful in their propaganda and their stories that the right-wing media and the right-wing talk show hosts started way back with Rush Limbaugh.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And they've had years to cultivate this very clear picture of whatever they want. I mean, we're trying to see what it is, and we're seeing only the negative part of it. My sister wants to have a Christian nation. I remember when I was a fervent Christian, church going, and I wanted to put Christianity in every part of my life.
I did too. I'm still a Christian, but I don't want to force it on everybody. That's not in the Bible. The Bible doesn't say let's make let's become Rome.
They make fishers of, go be a fisher person and bring them in. And
right. It talks about living your life as a Christ-like and then showing the message, living the message, and then sharing the message of your faith in witness. It does not say, let's go become Rome and persecute people and force them to become Christians, because it doesn't work that way.
That's right. Their transformation has been slow and methodical, and they still believe
You have to go through all those keys and see
that they are moving forward with their faith. And that's all I want to say.
Thank you, Miss Patty.
What time on Wednesday, Chris?
Oh, it's at 7.
Yeah.
And it's the same link that you're on right now. 7 Central, because I'm not sure where you live. Okay.
All right. Beth, hey, how you feeling? You can unmute yourself, but I'm going to go ahead and do that.
My throat and my ears hurt. But I don't want to say anything mind-blowing, but if we know as a group, we've been talking about Project 2025 all year, whether we know it or not. I think it's just hitting people so hard to see it in print.
Yeah.
Because it's like, we know what he's done. We know, people say Project 2025, but to see it in print and be like, oh my God, this is happening. It's really happened. We were just talking about this is that's the mind-blowing part.
We're actually processing it.
Well, and the detail of it. So I think there were certain aspects that are widely publicized, but did many people know that contraception itself was going to be, on the hit list? Not everybody had that level of specificity. I think that's the other thing that's shocking.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, for sure.
Y'all, I agree.
That's all.
And talking about it though, that's the thing. Once we get past our processing, once we get past our mind blown, and our anger, we have to get to what do we do about it? I saw this great thing on Instagram about how this has all been the white nationalist response to Obama, but it's been a 5-stage of grief process, right? First, it was denial, as in, oh, no, I'm not racist. We
Right.
just elected a black man. I can't possibly be. And then he got elected again, and then it was anger. They were
Well,
angry about it. And then,
yeah. And even my sister, who has dated black men, had mentioned that, well, we had to go through all those years with Obama. Like, what was so terrible about it? I don't understand.
well, and then he said, then they went through depression,
Yeah.
of feeling sorry for themselves and the victimhood. And and now they're going, and then it came to acceptance where they just, okay, fine, I'm just going to be racist and I'm going to be racist because this is who I am. And it's cool now. So, whatever. I was like, okay, yeah, that kind of goes right along with it now, doesn't it? But anyway, y'all,
Yeah.
something have not talked about. My uncle, his way he talked about two people, the way he talked to people who were not how he thought people should be, who did not fall into the heterosexual Christian box, right? And let me tell you, it before Project 2025 came out, they were teaching them how to erase people. Okay. They were, because it goes back to Rush Limbaugh, all the way back. And in they're listening to those types of people and their opinions throughout time. It taught my uncle how to speak to people in order to erase them as human beings. And I need to come up, I need to remember there was one, okay, I got it. Okay. One specific moment where he mansplained how to make ramen to me. He literally told me I was making ramen, the stuff you boil for 3 minutes and stick a little packet in. He told me I was doing it wrong and then went on to explain how every single thing I had done was wrong and how I needed to change how I was. And this is a man that I have put on a pedestal and thought of as the only solid guy in my entire life, right? And he literally he's the reason who brought me to Christ. He's the reason I became a Christian. I mean, he's not the reason, but I mean, he's the reason I started going to church. Let me put it that way. Um, and and yet the way he's acting and the way and I've talked to him about this, about how their actions are so anti-Christian and I don't understand. And then he immediately says, no, 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 you have it wrong. And he'll pull something from what his pastor said. And let me tell you, his church, I've never been, but my daughter has. And the first thing she did when she came back was say, Mom, she called me and she was like, Mom, that is the most white nationalist church I've ever been to. And we're going to talk about what that means next week, about the difference between white nationalism and religion, because white nationalism is not a religion. Okay. It's an ideology that utilizes religion to get what it wants. So, um, but I just want to say that I love my family so much. I love my aunt, I love my uncle, but she warned me and she tried to warn me ahead of time about what was coming. And and yet they still don't understand why I don't want anything to do with them. Like they don't understand why them voting the way they vote and having t-shirts with his picture on it and stuff like that. They don't understand how that is just wrong. Like it hurts me and my daughter and those. Dr. Chris.
Yeah, yeah. I hear you, Cecilia, because I think a lot of us have family members and we're going through that same struggle
Right.
because it's one thing to love them, but it's another thing to realize how different your values are, I mean, and that they're contrary to even what you believe is consistent with humanity and respect for humanity. And that's been my struggle as well with friends and family. But one of the things that I wanted to, because we're kind of getting to the end here, is to leave you with is, one of the things that my dad, who is a conservative but doesn't like Trump but has voted for Trump, has said, he said, well, you just don't like anything that Trump stands for. You don't like anything that he's ever done. And so I started thinking about that. And there is one thing that I am thankful for Trump for. So I'm going to put it out here as a way of closing this out. What Trump showed us, I think, is, first of all, he brought up kind of the worst possible stuff in America, like the stuff that I thought, had gone away. Like I didn't realize how real, racism is, and how in depth it is, and how still ingrained in our culture it is. So thank you, Donald Trump, for exposing the underbelly of the United States that I never really had full consciousness that existed.
Right.
And then the second to that is how fragile our democracy is. I mean, democracy is this new idealistic concept. And would we in this group have ever imagined an America where our democracy would be as much at risk as it is now? Would we have ever, because democracy is so ingrained in who we are as Americans, and yet here we are in the middle of an authoritarian takeover. So it was a wake-up call for me, because I hadn't been very involved in politics. I hadn't been very involved in what was going on and paying attention. I was like, hey, my job is to get to the polls every 4 years, vote for a representative and say, go forth and do great things and fulfill my, my agenda is, right?
Yep.
But now I think we realize how much as citizens we can't check out ever, right? We have to always stay involved. So I'll kind of leave you with that as a food for thought. So
that is excellent food. Excellent food for this Sunday second soup. Y'all, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you. And yes, that was so well said, Dr. Chris. I think one of the main thing that I have learned is that we cannot check out, because they will take advantage of every moment. So y'all, I hope you have an excellent rest of your day. Thank you so much for spending time with us. I know we all have limited time, but I appreciate you so much for our second episode of Sunday Seconds. And so we will see you hopefully tomorrow. And like Dr. Chris said, we have Vision Forward on Wednesday. And then again, we have Sorting Soup on Thursday at 5 p.m. So Vision Forward 7 p.m. on Wednesday, and then Sorting Soup again on Thursday at 5. And of course, we hope to see you in Coffee and Conversation tomorrow, if you can, at 9 a.m. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and
the vigil tonight.
Oh yeah, the vigil. Oh my gosh, the vigil, right. 7 p.m. Tonight is the vigil. So definitely. Thank you for reminding me. That is the gun violence vigil that's been going on since Sandy Hook. So 7 p.m.